We're going to be redesigning the WhatsApp mobile app today, bringing it straight into 2023. For some reason, WhatsApp is like the only chat app that just refuses to update its interface. Their use of color is all over the place, it pulls my attention where it doesn't need to be. They're still using Roboto, and their navigation is all the way here at the top, so I have to crane my thumb up here to do most of the global interactions. So we're going to fix it. Here's the style guide. The only thing we're changing is we're using Inter instead of Roboto. And here's the user stories. This is everything that we need to do in this UI. Let's do this. The first thing we're changing, of course, is moving the navigation all the way down to the footer of the app screen. Nowadays, in most modern mobile apps, there's a lot of affordance to have navigation there, and this is a pretty strong pattern. It's very unlikely this is going to change in the near future, so we'll just keep this here for now. Not going to change much about the individual chat items. They were following some pretty good design practices, but we're just going to modernize things a little bit by applying the new typeface and, of course, using bold appropriately to pull visual attention to the user's name or indicate that the message is unread. I really like this treatment they had for indicating whether or not you had one-to-many unread messages in a given chat. So we're going to persist this and just tweak it a little bit. And now we're adding a little bit of a real-time feel to the app by embedding a online status icon here, where we can know if, say, Marcus is online and expect a response within a reasonable time. And it was about now that I realized that the font I had chosen was just a little too thick on the medium font, which was just adding way too much emphasis to the name. So swapping back to the good old trustworthy Inter here for that nice thin medium font. Now that we have all the conversations listed out, I can imagine that users might want to look for something specific in this big list and perhaps find someone that they knew they were talking with a couple of weeks ago or something. So we're adding a search control right at the top of the UI here, which clearly implies that you're searching through the chats themselves. And we're also going to add a little availability selector up here that lets you just turn on a do not disturb mode if you just don't want to be bothered for a couple of hours. Here I'm slowly realizing that we're just trying to squeeze too much on one line, but then fortunately I'm also realizing that we haven't labeled this interface yet. So adding the name of the part of the UI that you're currently viewing in the top left is a standard practice, and putting chats there just explicitly clarifies that, hey, you're looking at your chats right now. This also gives us a bunch more space to put that availability widget just to the right. And finally, we're persisting the floating action button here because it gives us a way to do the primary task in the app without having to crane our thumb all the way to the top of the UI. We can replace this with anything we want contextually. In this case, chat makes sense. Creating the single chat screen, we're looking at making a few changes to the header, namely just specifying who we're talking with and applying a back button so users can get back to the previous screen and continue conversing with other people. And beyond the changes to the header here, there's really not much that's different from like your standard messaging app here. So I'm gonna skip to the end and we'll review everything there. So here we are, the final UI. We were able to preserve some of the WhatsApp branding with the little accent colors here and in the individual message page. And although I think this is objectively a significantly better UI, we've got the navigation controls down here where we can touch them easily. The visual hierarchy is like really well optimized. The problem is, and a lot of people are probably thinking this just looks like every other messaging app. And this looks almost identical to Facebook Messenger right now, with the exception of a couple of brand elements here and there. But I would argue that that's not necessarily a bad thing. Once you find an interface that's functional and works well, there's really no reason to deviate from it, right? If we have a clean, modern UI that allows us to chat with our friends and family, that's all that matters, right? We don't really need some super flashy design on top of a chat app. The purpose of the app is to enable communications. The communications are where the value is, right? We don't need to be getting fancy with the UI. But perhaps that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. How would you have done this differently? Would you have added a little more brand flair or some personality into the redesign somehow? Nonetheless, I hope you took a nice little nugget of design knowledge from this one, and I hope you're having a great week. See you in the next one.